Yeah, so it turns out wedding season is coming up. I'm just trying to make some connections here, you know. Oh, life is good, 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 good. I tell you, this authentic living thing, there's something to it. You see, I spoke last week about how so often we go to the costume party called life thinking that we're supposed to show up as somebody than other than who we are. And yet when we realize that there is a divine intelligence that is expressed in and through and as all creation, and that each individualized point of creation is a unique part of the divine. So if God had wanted you to be someone else, she would have made you somebody else. Right? I know. Hello. Oh, so we've been working from a wonderful book called The Power of You. Living this authentic life, joy-filled, overflowing. And it's so good. It's so good to know who we are. I stand witness to an amazing transformative process. And I every time we do an annual meeting, I always go into this process because I look back and I look forward and I just every time come up with this awareness of how very grateful I am to be here with you and to get to do what I do. It's a beautiful and wonderful thing. And I was reflecting on just all the good. And I'm not going to give that speech. That's the next speech. But all the good that's taking place in this community as we're really owning and honoring and allowing that which is divine within us to be expressed more fully. And as we come together in a realm of consciousness to know individually and collectively that our greater good is seeking its expression through us, and we simply need to make it welcome. So I want to talk this morning a little bit about the power of mind. And I want to speak specifically not only about the power of mind, but, if I may, the power of your mind. Because you see, one of the things that we think is that we are having this unique individual experience, but the truth is we don't have a mind, we have a use of the mind. You see, we're not creative. We're using a creative intelligence. And there's a difference. We're not the source of our lives, but we are one with the source of our lives, and we can fashion the life that we want according to our own thinking patterns. This is radical stuff. You see, what we know in this room, there's a whole lot of folk out there that don't know. There's a few folk in here that aren't really sure, but that's okay, you know. Alicia, folk is one of those good words too. You know, I grew up saying y'all. I was from Colorado. I didn't know everybody didn't do that. But it wasn't until the South that I figured out what the plural of y'all is, which is all y'all, right? Folk is a good one too. I'm not sure how that's spelled exactly, but nonetheless. So when we begin to understand that we have a transformative power at our disposal, that by not just changing our thinking, but the pattern of our thought, we create a new reality. I want you to hear that, because when I heard this first, when I came into this teaching some moons ago, let us just say many moons ago, let's just call it many moons and leave it at that. As an even younger person than you see here today, I didn't know this. I thought life happened to me. In fact, I grew up in a tradition, in a spiritual tradition, that sort of said life happens to you according to His will, because He was a heathen, and sort of your job's just to make the best of it. And if you do it right, maybe there'll be some rewards later. So in a sense, we're like, oh, okay, well, I hope it works, you know, do my best. And And then I came into a teaching, and I remember picking up a Science of Mind magazine, and it said at the top, change your thinking and change your life. It's like, okay, what do I have to think? They said, say this words. I am living a joy-filled, authentic life. It's like, okay, I'm living a joy-filled, authentic life. Nothing's happening. Right? So I had the thought, and my life looks pretty much the same. But you see, Chris Michaels in this wonderful book goes on to explain there's more to this story. And this is so good. You know this is good because I'm actually going to quote him accurately. Not something I normally do. I just say, oh, they say, but I'm going to actually use his words. So listen to this. Thoughts that you choose to entertain on a regular basis become the mental atmosphere surrounding you. That atmosphere dictates your actions and causes your experience. To put it simply, you are what you think, and you attract what you are. I'm even going to repeat it again accurately, just because this is good. This is good stuff. Thoughts that you choose to entertain on a regular basis become the mental atmosphere around you. That atmosphere dictates your actions and causes your experience. To put it simply, you are what you think and you attract what you are. You see, it's not enough to have a thought and have it manifest. For most of us, that's not the case. But when we begin to establish a pattern of thinking, then that creates an atmosphere around us, which then leads us into new ways of being and acting in the world, which then leads us to having new experiences. So it is not enough to have a thought. As good as these affirmations are, and I personally know the author, it's not enough to say it once in the morning and go on the rest of the day saying how rotten your life is. It is the pattern of our thinking. So at the beginning of this year, I had a word with myself. And I had a moment of clarity, preceded by a moment of anger and hurt. But then I had a moment of clarity. And in the clarity I got, this is mine to do. This is mine to do. The center, I hope you like me because I'm here. You know, if you don't, I hope you find a center that you like. Because I'm here. And I'm very clear about, I just had this moment of clarity. And what I realized is for me to do long haul, I had to work more on self-care. That even in the process of our renovation, I kind of put me on the back burner to what we were creating here. Isn't that lovely? Oh. Here, let me get back up on here, there we go. Right? Here's what I discovered. You don't like that guy. He's cranky, he's mean, he's snotty. We want the nice Marty back. And so I decided, if the martyr thing's not working for them and it's not working for me, I don't want to jump into it, but maybe I shouldn't do it. I'm, like I said, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I get there eventually. So I made a commitment to myself to practice what I know works, which is better self-care. Really looking at my nutrition program, really looking at my exercise program, setting some goals for myself, getting rest, doing all the things, taking the days off, doing all those things that keep me at my best so I can be at my best for the job. Now, this should not be that hard to figure out, but I'm slow. Well, as I said, get into the program. So I decided, I entertained, maybe I'll do that half marathon again. But this time, I think I'll do it differently. This time, I think I'll train for it. But I don't know. So I kind of had a couple months, but then I realized I'm 3 months out and I got to commit. So I've made this commitment. June 7th, Sun Valley, half marathon. And what I discovered is if I'm going to do this, I have to go to the gym or out running almost every day. I wanted once. Can't I just have we'll make you a marathon runner session? I'll pay extra. Right? But oh, no. They say you have to run 5 days out of the week. They also say you have to rest 2 days out of the week, which is a lesson. But you see, it's the same way with learning to think differently. We can't keep thinking in our old patterns, in our old ways. We can't keep arguing for limitation. We can't keep telling our old story about how hard life is and how it shouldn't be this way and it's not fair. Do you understand it's not fair? Right? And then expect that we're going to have this different experience of life. And yet, how many people do we know that think by whining about it, by worrying about it, by moaning about it, by complaining about it, life is going to be different? You know those people, don't you? I always say it this way. There's two kinds of people in the world. There's those people who light up a room when they show up. And then there's those that light up the room when they leave. Right? So we get to be a choice. Who do you want to be? You know, you're going to light up that room somehow. Right? That's the mental process that creates the atmosphere that leads to the action that creates the experience. And it starts with us. So I remember years ago coming into this teaching. Again, I came from a victim mentality. Life happened to me. I had no control over it. I thought if I could get the right connection with God, He would find favor and I could have what I wanted. That was my mindset. And then they started saying, oh no. This universe is a universe of law, of order, of justice, of principle. And that according to your own belief, you shall establish unto you your life. It's like, cool. How do I do that? You change your thinking. How do I do that? You practice day in and day out. And we have to develop the discipline of imagining our life as it could be, as we want it to be. So we have to get clear about what it is we want. You see, part of why I like doing this marathon thing is, one, it's not a natural fit for me. The natural fit for me is hanging out at the bar. But, apparently you don't. Right? But no, you have to get out there and run and do all that sort of thing. So it's good for me because it sets a goal out there that says, aha, this time I got this great idea. Now, like I said, not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I thought, what if I ran it at my ideal weight? Would that be easier? I think so. So not only am I going to run this, but I'm going to run it at my ideal weight. So stay tuned. Go Marty. I know. We're 2/5 of the way there, so it's all good, right? Because that works. But so what do I have to imagine? I have to imagine that person as me completing what I want. It can't be a, whoa, I wish, oh, I hope, wouldn't it be nice? It has to be imagining our life the way we want it, moving into the consciousness of that person, taking the action that that person would take, and then being rewarded by the benefits of those choices. It is a discipline like everything else. And so I find for us sometimes when we get into metaphysical, first we have to go through magical thinking before we get to metaphysical thinking. You know what I'm talking about? Like, gee, let me find a practitioner because I bet they've got a magic wand that they can wave and have my life be different, right? Rick, Rick, of course, he's obvious, but the rest of us, right? So we go through magical thinking, we think, I'm going to have this happy thought, but then we get into metaphysical thinking, which realizes that this thing that we're experiencing out here is a direct result of our consciousness. And if we don't like the result, then we change the consciousness. Now, you can spend a lot of time making yourself wrong for being where you were or where you are. You can. Go ahead. Have at it. It won't change anything, but if it helps us to feel better, it doesn't. But you see, sometimes we get into that thing like, I shouldn't be here. Here's another exciting thing, fun facts in the Center for Spiritual Living. We have 8 new practitioners about to graduate and license. They're a mess. I know. No. And you know why? Because this is the fun part. They're right at that point where their goal is almost there. So all of their stuff around, am I enough? Can I do this? What if I don't license? What if people laugh at, whatever, any of that stuff that's still residual, and they still have a little residual, not a lot, but a little, is coming up to be looked at, right? Because that's what we do with ourselves. We yes, this is the life I choose. But I'm not sure I can do it. Right? You all have that voice, right? What makes you think you can, right? Nobody in our family's ever, right? We all have it. So that's just part of the process. But when we get clear about what we want and we own it as our own, then we begin to make that welcome in our life. I always love that phrase, we don't have to make things happen. We simply need to make them welcome. You see, before I was a metaphysician, I was still a nice person. I was a very nice person. I was a mess, but I was a nice person, right? In fact, kind of sickly nice, codependently. How do you feel? How are you today? I don't know. How am I? What's the answer you're looking for? Okay, that's who I am, right? But nice. And so I wanted good in my life, but inherent underneath that was this idea that I really wasn't worthy and I really didn't deserve it. So when good tried to come in my life, there was no place for it to park, right? There's no place for it to land. You ever been on an airplane and for some reason they're not ready for us, we have to circle, right? There's no place to land. And until we develop the consciousness that understands that we not only are worthy, but we deserve the highest that life has to share for us, we can have it spin all around us. But it doesn't land until we say, you're welcome. My good is welcome here now. So this process, and it is a process, I want you to hear this. I'm not going to run a marathon, half marathon, because today I said, hey, I think I run one. I'm going to run it because for 5 days out of the week, for the next 3 months, I will follow my program. Why do we offer classes all the time? Because most of us don't come to the teaching naturally. And certainly the world isn't supporting us in thinking this. The world supports you in saying, are you unhappy? Are you unhappy? You looking happy. But for just $19.95, we have a product that will make you happy, and if you order now, you can get 2. It's I got to get me some of that stuff, right? Or the news. Here's the greatest thing with the news. The news comes on, and it says, "Are you at risk for dying of terminal illness? We'll be right back." Right? I felt fine, but now there's right? So the world is not supporting us in living this happy, healthy, abundant life. So we begin to realize it's an inward journey. It is developing the discipline to think differently, to create a pattern that surrounds us that then creates an atmosphere that then leads to action that then allows us to have our experience. Now, I think about that young man that showed up all those years ago and how do I do this? And this not quite so young man that lives here today, and how that is my new norm. To simply know that when I think about a thing, it's going to come into experience if I make it welcome. This very morning, I'm talking this AM, I started really early, but I was kind of thinking about what's next for me. As I said, at every annual meeting, I'm looking back and I'm looking forward, and I know there's a calling for me for this expanded ministry. And so the book is not going to leave me alone. You know, all of you that have known me forever know there's a book that he talks about, and it's like time. So I just got that. It's like it's time to really step forward towards that, to evolve ministry here and reshift it so I can do less of some things and more of the ministry part of this whole thing. And so I walk in the door, and of course, lovely Jerry's there, because Jerry's always here first thing in the morning. Lovely Jerry, who grinds the coffee, makes the coffee, bakes the cookies, puts them in the little plastic clamshells so that they look like they're from the store. You know, the whole deal. She says to me as I walk through the door, I'm loving this book. When are you going to write a book? Bing, right? So when we understand this, it's not magic. It is not magic. And the sooner we let go of the idea that it is magic, we can get down to the work. It's called the discipline of daily spiritual practice, of imagining what we want, imagining ourselves inside it, releasing that which no longer serves that higher vision, which may... You want to hear the whole news? It may require you to let go of some stuff. Darn, right? And one of the biggest things we need to let go of is our resentment. Right? When we are carrying around our resentments about anything, we don't withhold another person's good, we withhold our own. Chris Michaels in this book has this wonderful line. He said, resentment is like giving yourself a little dose of poison every day, hoping the other person will die. Am I getting too close to home? So we practice forgiveness. We don't have to condone behavior. We don't have to make it okay, but we have to move beyond and to that awareness that we're all doing the best we can. Now, look, quick survey. Who in this room has ever done something, either intentionally or unintentionally, that harmed yourself or another? Some of you are lying, because I know. We all have. Most of it was unintentionally. We don't go, hey, gee, how can I screw this situation up? We go, this is my best level of awareness today. Oh, that's kind of a mess. Oops. Right? So can we forgive ourselves? Can we choose to see beyond the behavior to recognize behind that there's a divine being who's just here to express more love, more joy, more harmony? Can we forgive freely? That would be a lovely chapter title, wouldn't it? It is a chapter title, I'm telling you. He's got to write this book. Because if we can let go, if we can choose to be in this moment, if we can choose to experience the divine as fully who we are, then we make welcome in our life that which has always been available to us. We're saying the airport is open. Come on down. Right? It's a shift in our own thinking. The universe, what I love about this, is it doesn't play favorites. It's not a reward and punishment system. It is a very just, orderly system. And as we change inwardly, then the outer flows from that. So we're all in this game together. And why I love spiritual community, and particularly this spiritual community, is we get to show up for each other because all of us are in some point of forgetting at any given point in time. And all of us are in a point of remembering at any given point in time. Luckily, we never do it one or the same at the same time, right? You know, while you're forgetting, somebody over here is remembering, and so we kind of balance each other up, and we celebrate this life that we're learning, because we know we're not going to get it from TV. We know we're not going to get it from the ads. We're going to get it because we surround ourselves with people that support us in living our highest vision, that look us in the eye and say, thank you for being your authentic self. You look good. You look good. And thank you for noticing, right? You're so perceptive. Thank you. Right? You don't get to do that a whole lot other places. So it's a good thing. So here's the deal. Maybe you have achieved mastery with all of this. Maybe you're just taking your first steps. It doesn't matter. You're on the path. And we're all on this path together, loving, supporting, honoring each other. So I would invite you in this moment to forgive yourself for whatever stupid thing you did. It's part of what got you in the room, right? And choose in this moment to make welcome that higher self, that greater possibility. That dream that lives in your heart and mind that wants to be expressed is calling for you, waiting for you to say yes to it. Imagine what you want, make it welcome, create an atmosphere, and then move into action, doing the things that will support you in living your highest possibility. Let us begin with prayer. As we simply turn inward, honoring and acknowledging the simple but profound truth that there is indeed but one life, one power, one presence, one infinite being, that which is the source of all that is, the creative intelligence that has caused the planets to be in perfect balance and motion, that causes the rains to fall, the flowers to grow. It is this one life that is breathing itself through us. It is the very breath that we breathe. The Bible says, closer than hands and feet, nearer than our breath, is this divine intelligence. And so as we open our hearts and our minds to recognize the truth of who we are, fully orbed spiritual beings in this very moment, we make more of that available. We consciously choose our thoughts, our words, our actions to create the life that we desire. And so I'm speaking the word of truth for each of us gathered here as I'm knowing that as we declare this new reality, we are recognizing and honoring the presence of wholeness and knowing that that wholeness reveals itself as health, as well-being, as vitality. We are making welcome the presence of unconditional love, fully and freely forgiving ourselves and each other, willing to release that which no longer serves us, to embrace a new way of being transformed through the power of love. We recognize and know that right here and right now we are abundant beings, for we are one with the source and the substance of all that is. The Master said, I have come that you might have life and live it more abundantly. And so we accept that divine invitation, knowing that there is a divine flow taking place. Joyously we give and graciously receive of this divine bounty. And I invite you in this holy moment, in this sacred space, that we be willing to release those limiting ideas, those outworn beliefs, those things that no longer serve us, to simply let it go. and in its place to accept the glory and the goodness of the divine, revealing itself in new and powerful and magnificent ways. Yes, we can change our thinking and we can change our life. It is good, and we are blessed. And so from this place of blessing, we simply give thanks. And we extend a blessing. We bless this spiritual community. For we know that it is indeed a divine idea unfolding perfectly. We extend a blessing to our brothers and sisters around the planet this day. We're holding the high vision for a planet at peace and a world that works for all. And as always, we bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith. For we know there are many pathways to the divine. We honor them all. How good it is to be together in this holy and sacred space where we remember the truth, and the truth sets us free. With profound joy and gratitude, then I simply give thanks, releasing this word into that divine law, knowing that it is so. As together we say, and so it is.